Welcome to Mom Life Meets AI. Have you ever had a friend who stopped responding to your text messages or just suddenly wasn't available to make plans with you? You start replaying the last conversation you had with them and you think, what did I do wrong? Am I boring? You start looking for the proof that you must have messed it up. And once you start, you can't stop seeing all the things that you should have done differently. Before you know it, the story starts to consume you and influence how you think and act in other relationships. In this episode, you'll learn a simple 3-step process to interrupt overthinking and take back control of your emotions. I'm hoping that this will help you step back and see the stories that you're creating and decide if those stories need some updates. Less overwhelm and more time for you. I'm Carrie Wallace, mom and mindset coach. Here, you'll learn simple mindset shifts, smart tools, and how to delegate tasks using AI so you can reclaim your time and energy. If you're ready to stop just surviving and start thriving, let's get started. What's happening in our mind when we send a text message and someone doesn't respond for a few hours? Our brain will immediately try to fill in the blank. We might tell ourselves a story like, they must not like me anymore, or I said something that offended them. But we could just as easily create a different story. Maybe there's an emergency. Maybe something unexpected happened. Or maybe the simplest explanation is true. They're just busy. The event is the same. The story that we attach to it is what changes and how we interpret the situation. Those stories shape how we feel and what we do next. So what's happening in those moments? It's not weakness, it's wiring. Your brain is designed to close the gaps in information. When something shifts, a text goes unanswered, a tone feels different, or plans suddenly change, your brain doesn't like uncertainty, so it just fills in the blank. It usually doesn't fill that blank with neutral information. It fills it with whatever story feels the most familiar. If you already carry a quiet fear of not being enough, your brain will reach for that explanation first, not because it's true, but because it's efficient. It's just the default pattern your brain has learned. And this happens because your brain is constantly filtering information. All day long, you're surrounded by more input than you could ever possibly process. You can hear conversations, news, social media, things in your environment, things happening around you, and even your own thoughts. So your brain has to filter it. It decides what's important and what can be ignored. That's why when you start thinking about buying a black SUV, suddenly you see that exact SUV everywhere. On your street, on the highway, in the parking lot. Those SUVs were always there. Your brain just started highlighting them. Try looking around right now. You might suddenly notice that the floor needs to be vacuumed. Or maybe you're in the car and you'll notice that you have an overdue oil change. That isn't new information. It was already there. You're just focusing on it. Your brain had filtered it out. That same mechanism in your brain that starts highlighting the black SUV is also working on your beliefs. Have you ever woke up in the morning and stumped your toe on your way out of bed and immediately thought, ugh, today is going to be a bad day? When you tell yourself it's going to be a bad day, you're not predicting the future. You're training your brain to make it the future. Your mind will start scanning for proof. Once it's scanning, it doesn't just notice things that are going wrong. It starts interpreting neutral moments in a way that confirms the story that you've been telling yourself. You're laying the groundwork, not just to spot problems, but to assign meaning to things that might not have meant anything at all on a different day. Let's say you wake up already feeling behind. Your husband walks through the kitchen and doesn't say good morning. On a normal day, you wouldn't even register it. But on a day primed to be bad, it suddenly means something. He's irritated. He doesn't know how much I'm juggling. The same event, but a different interpretation. Or your teenager gives you a short answer. On a calm day, you think they're tired. On a primed for bad day, you think they don't respect me. Nothing external changed. Your filter changed. Once the filter shifts, your emotions follow. Your tone shifts, your reactions shift. That's how a belief quietly shapes the atmosphere of your day. If you believe that you're not enough, your brain will start collecting evidence to support that belief. You'll filter out anything that contradicts the belief, and it will create a story around the other things to support the belief, even when they're untrue. You'll remember that awkward pause or the comment that just didn't seem to land right. And all of it will feel like proof that you're not enough, proof that that belief is true. Beliefs are kind of like search terms. If your internal search term is I'm not enough, your brain will return all of the matching results. Change the search term and you change what gets highlighted. You might not have control or even be aware of your very first thought. But if you practice observing your emotions, you'll recognize when something has gone off track. That emotional spike, the hurt, the panic, the defensiveness, is your signal. This is where you have more power than most people realize. You can catch the thought. You can run it through the 3-step process that we're about to walk through. This is your opportunity to write the story before it starts rewriting your behavior. I don't say this just from theory. It's something that I use in my own life all the time. Not too long ago, I had a friend that I was having lunch with regularly. It felt so easy and we could really open up about real things. We were in a similar place in life. Then one day, when I sent a message to her asking when our next lunch could be, she told me that she just didn't have time to fit it in. I immediately went into the replay of our last lunch together. Everything I said, everything I did, and trying to recall how she reacted. Was it something that I said? Did I overshare? Did I undershare? Did I miss a signal where I should have stopped or should have handled something differently? I was feeling hurt and frustrated and just angry at myself for whatever I had done. I forced myself to step back and ask, what else could be true? That question is so powerful. What else could be true? It doesn't force you to throw out your first interpretation. It just opens the door to other possibilities. And once I asked that question, other explanations started to appear. I knew she had a lot going on. We had talked about it. She had some big goals coming up and was in a season of reevaluating her priorities. I've had those seasons too. I've stepped back from people I care about, not because I loved them less or because they did anything, or I didn't enjoy spending time with them, but because my bandwidth had shifted. And when I looked at the situation through that lens, my emotions started to shift. I can feel sad about that friendship and what changed about it, but I don't have to turn that sadness into a story about me. I can feel hurt and not let it consume me. I can respect her decisions and her season. Maybe you understand that your brain is constantly filtering for whatever belief feels the most relevant. Then the real question you need to think about is, how do you interpret that process? How do you catch the story before it starts shaping your emotion and influencing your behavior? Awareness alone isn't going to be enough. You need something practical. So here's a simple 3-step process you can use anytime you feel that spiral starting. Step 1, notice the story. Step 2, challenge that interpretation. And step 3, choose your response. If you're feeling really strong emotions and feel yourself spiraling down some long tunnel, stop and ask yourself, what story am I building right now? What am I assuming? What meaning have I attached to this? Separate the fact from interpretation. Sometimes that can be really hard, but the more that you practice this, the more that you challenge yourself, you'll find that it does get easier. So the fact in this story is that she said she doesn't have time. The story that I put around that is that I'm not important, that I messed up, that she's pulling away because she doesn't like me. This step was awareness. Most people never pause there. And then the second step is to challenge that interpretation, not with blind positivity, but with openness. Ask, what else could be true? Is this interpretation useful? Am I scanning for evidence that supports a fear? You're not trying to lie to yourself. You're just trying to widen the lens. Maybe she's overwhelmed. Maybe she is in a different season. Maybe it truly has nothing to do with you. Even though the rejection is possible, does obsessing over that really help in any way? It won't bring that friendship back. It will only put false limits on your confidence, your relationships, and your future. This is where you have a choice. You get to decide which story you operate from. The actions that you take next, the way that this experience shapes your future, will come directly from the story that you choose to believe. You can build on that belief that you're not worthy of a great friendship. If you choose the I'm not enough story, you'll withdraw. You'll protect yourself. If you choose the this is a season story, you'll stay open and grow. If you're struggling to work through any of these steps on your own, that's where AI can help. When you're emotional, you can't be objective. Your brain is scanning for confirmation. It's not looking for clarity. So instead of sitting alone in that spiral, you can use AI as a thought processor. You can type something in the prompt like, here's what happened. Can you help me separate the facts from my interpretations? Or give me 5 alternative explanations that don't involve me being rejected or not enough. You're not outsourcing your thinking. You're slowing it down. You're creating space between the event and the story. And that space is where your power lives. In my newsletter this week, I'll include some detailed prompts that you can use to practice this 3-step process. Use them when you're in the spiral and you need some clarity, when you need help separating fact from the actual story you're telling yourself. The more that you practice these 3 steps, the less you'll need these prompts. The pattern will just become automatic on your own. You'll catch the story faster, challenge it sooner, and then choose your response intentionally. The earlier that you can interrupt that spiraling narrative, the less power it will have over your emotions, relationships, and your decisions. That's how you enjoy life more. Not by avoiding the hard moments, but by refusing to let the old beliefs create stories that shrink your life. If this episode left you feeling clearer or more inspired, share it with a friend. Because us moms need to stick together. For more support and simple AI tools designed to help you reclaim your time, head over to momlifemeetsai.com and join our community. Thanks for listening. See you back here next week.